Hello everyone, I'm here to report my findings on the OJ Simpson case with relation to racism in LA and if it had any effect on the murder trial outcome. Owenfold James Simpson, or known as OJ Simpson, was born on July 9, 1947 in Puerto Hill, California, USA. Puerto Hill was a former Navy barracks until the Navy left the area, and then it was changed into public housing that was predominantly used by African American families due to its low income area. After going to high school at Galileo Academy of Science and Technology, OJ accepted an athletic scholarship to the University of Southern California in 1967, where he played running back for their football team in 1967 to 1968 seasons. The racial tension in Los Angeles has been shown to the world on August 11, 1965, when Marquette Fry, an African-American motorist, was pulled over by two white police officers when an argument broke out, which then escalated into a fight, in which caused a riot from the 11th of August to the 16th of August in the 50 square mile area of Los Angeles called the Watts. This was started due to the belief of police racism by the predominantly white police officers and the people of colour in the nearby area. While on the 18th of November 1967, the rival game between the USC and the UCLA made OJ Simpson into a legend of college football when he ran a 64-yard game-winning run during the final quarter's last minutes.
They need 3 yards. First down and more. There's Simpson. Look at that cut. OJ Simpson.
That's all she wrote.
64 yards.
The Buffalo Bills select as their first choice, the first round, halfback OJ Simpson, the University of Southern California.
OJ Simpson was drafted in the 1969 draft, first overall, by the Buffalo Bills. At first, many people believed that OJ was a bust, due to not making a huge impact and taking the Bills to the playoffs. This was until Lou Saban became the head coach of the Bills in the 1972 season. Lou Saban changed the whole team style into a run-first offense. The 1973 NFL season was OJ Simpson's best season due to being the first player in NFL history to run for over 2,000 yards in a single season, beating Jim Brown's former record of 1,863 yards. By the end of his time in Buffalo, Simpson has been putting his mind towards acting in films, television, and in ad campaigns. This heavily affected his playing, as shown from his stats from 1974 onwards, where he has been decreasing in all major statistical areas. This may have affected why he was traded to the San Francisco 49ers in 1974, where he played for them until the end of the 1979 season, which he retired from football. OJ Simpson would rush for 11,263 yards with 2,404 carries and 16 touchdowns, with an average of 4.7 yards per carry in his 11 seasons of playing in the NFL. After his retirement, OJ Simpson went into full-time acting, where he appeared in films like The Naked Gun trilogy, The Towering Inferno, Capricorn 1, and among other films, while also appearing in television and other media ads for major companies, most known for his ads with Hertz. OJ Simpson became the face of Hertz car rental from around 1978 into the 90s, where Hertz sales would increase dramatically.
Coming or going on a business trip, you've got no time to waste. And nobody knows that better than Hertz. Whether it's picking up or dropping off your Ford or other fine car, nobody has more to do it faster.
Go, OJ, go! Getting you out with super speed. Hertz, the superstar in rent-a-car. Hertz, the superstar in rent-a-car.
You know it.
OJ has been married to his first wife, Marguerite Whitley, since their time in USC back in 1967. But this didn't change his mind while being at the Daisy, a place in Los Angeles where famous and rich people hang out, with his friend Jack, where he noticed and met Nicole Brown waiting tables, who was only 18 at the time, where OJ said to Jack, "I'm going to marry that girl." OJ would divorce Marguerite Whitley in 1978. The relationship between OJ and Nicole showed signs of an abusive relationship, where after their first date, Nicole arrived home at 2 o'clock in the morning with her jeans ripped telling her friend David LeBron that he was a little forceful. OJ would later marry Nicole Brown in 1985. OJ and Nicole's relationship was very abusive in both physical and the emotional way towards Nicole. The police were called to their Brentwood home around 8 times, which included in 1989, where on New Year's Eve, Nicole suffered bruises, a split lip, and a black eye, as noted from the Washington Post from June 24, 1994. OJ was charged with spousal abuse, for which he pleaded no contest, and received the lesser charge of battery, in which he received a fine and community service. In 1992, Nicole Brown Simpson filed for divorce, and which was finalised on October 15, 1992. On the night of June 12, 1994, Nicole Brown and her friend Ron Goldman were fatally stabbed at Nicole's home in Brentwood, California. At around 9:15, Ron Goldman has to return to Mendoza restaurant after Nicole's mother left her glasses behind after having dinner at around 6:30 to 8 p.m. While at around 9:45 p.m., OJ and his friend Brian Kalin returned to OJ's home after having dinner at McDonald's at around 9 p.m. to 9:30. No time was ever noted for what time Ron Goldman returned from the Mendoza restaurant. At around 10:15 p.m., Nicole Brown's neighbor Pablo Fernez heard constant barking of Nicole's dog. This is believed by many what time that Nicole and Ron were murdered. At around 10:25 p.m., Alan Park, a limo driver sent to pick up OJ Simpson and take him to the airport, arrived at OJ Simpson's Brentwood home. At around 11 p.m., Alan Park saw a black man, around 6 foot, 200 pounds, walked across the driveway towards OJ's home. And around 15 minutes later, OJ Simpson arrived at the limo, saying he had overslept and just gotten out of the shower. At 11:45 p.m., OJ was on a flight to Chicago, and around 35 minutes later, at 12:10 a.m., bodies of Nicole and Ron were discovered by a person walking past her home. OJ Simpson was charged with the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman, but he had to turn himself in at around 11 a.m. on June 17, 1994, but he didn't show up, so the police declared him a fugitive. Hours later, at 6:45 p.m., the now famous white Bronco car was spotted on the LA highway, which began the low-speed chase throughout Los Angeles. The white Bronco was being driven by friend and former USC teammate Al Cowlings. This was because OJ had a gun, in which the police, as well as the media, believed that OJ Simpson was going to commit suicide. OJ was driven to his Brentwood home at around 7:52 p.m. After a police standoff, OJ Simpson gave himself up and was taken into custody and arrived at Parker Center Police Station at around 9:37 p.m. On the 20th of July, 1994, the state of California versus OJ James Simpson trial began, by OJ Simpson pleading not guilty to the charges of first-degree murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. The trial was held in downtown Los Angeles. The jury was made up of 8 women and 4 males, of which were predominantly of African-American descent. Over the year-long trial, the issue of race became the biggest factor of the trial, due to lead detective Mark Furman was found on tape using racist slurs, speaking of hate towards blacks, as well as police officers not collecting evidence and storing the same evidence in a proper way. Officer Robert Risk said during the trial that he had picked up Nicole Simpson's phone without gloves or dusting it for fingerprints. So this may have caused key evidence like the gloves from being tainted, or how the defense team for OJ Simpson used that theory that the LAPD planted the evidence at the scene of the crime to frame OJ Simpson. This theory had some backbone to it due to the murder weapon not being found at all until years after the trial was finished. This trial created a racial divide in the public due to the idea of most African Americans believing that the racist police framed OJ Simpson as a way of getting back for the Rodney King riots in 1991. This riot began when Rodney King, an African American, was beaten up by 4 white police officers in 1991, and how those 4 police officers, Stacey Koon, Lawrence Powell, Timothy Wind, and Theodore Briscoe, were all acquitted of all charges, as well as Korean grocer Soon Jun Doon killed a 15-year-old African-American girl by the name of Letitia Harlings over a bowl of orange juice, and how she was only found guilty of manslaughter instead of the full correct charge of murder, and only received a probation and community service. This sparked a 5-day riot in LA that left 50 people dead, more than 2,000 people injured, as well as over $1 million in damages to over 1,000 different buildings. So, with the inclusion of racism in the LAPD, the lead detective being shown as a racist, and the evidence not stored properly at the scene of the crime, this led to OJ Simpson being found not guilty on October 4th, 1995. Robert Shapiro and Johnny Cochran, both on OJ's defense team, had 2 different ideas of using racism in the case. While Shapiro promised not to use race in the case, Cochran made no such pledge, as shown in his closing arguments, encouraging the jurors to do the right thing during the trial, and during the trial calling Furman a racist. After the verdict was read out, most news networks shown 2 different shots. One shot of showing African American people bursting into joy, while the other shot showed white people were crying. This showed how much the trial was affected. So, did racism play any effect on the OJ Simpson murder trial? My research showed me that racism did play a major part on the trial's outcome. This was due to the recent events of racism inside the LAPD, the audio tapes of Mark Furman having a predominantly African American jury, as well as the riots and race-based events before the trial started. So racism in LA did affect the trial and its outcome. Thank you for listening.